Here's something that changed very quietly this year, and almost nobody's talking about it. If you're 50 or older, your super fund is now legally required to send you something new. Not a statement, not a marketing email, an actual tailored plan for how your money should last through retirement. And here's the uncomfortable prediction. Most people are going to glance at it, assume it's just more super fund paperwork, and file it straight in the bin, which would be a genuine shame, because this is possibly the single most useful letter a lot of Australians over 50 will ever receive from their fund. And it exists because of a mistake we've talked about before on this channel, chronically underestimating how long retirement actually lasts. Meet Robert and Denise, both 55, both with a similar super balance sitting around $450,000, both members of the same type of fund. In April this year, they both received the exact same letter. What they did next is going to make a genuinely enormous difference to how the rest of their lives play out. Quick bit of context, because this is a real regulatory shift, not a marketing gimmick. From the 1st of April this year, super funds are now required to provide members aged 50 and above with a proper, tailored retirement income strategy. Not a generic brochure, an actual roadmap built around your own income needs, your own appetite for risk, and your own likely life expectancy, covering how to draw down your super sustainably and tax effectively all the way through retirement. The whole point of this reform is to fix exactly the kind of problem that quietly wrecks so many retirements. People either draw their money down too fast, assuming retirement is a shorter stretch than it usually turns out to be, or they get nervous and barely touch it, sitting on a pile of money they were too scared to actually use.
This new rule exists to put a genuine personalised plan in front of people before either of those mistakes has a chance to happen. Robert and Denise both got the letter. Robert skimmed the first line, assumed it was routine, and moved on with his day. Denise actually opened hers properly. Denise books the free session her fund offers as part of the new strategy rollout. It takes about 45 minutes. In that time, she gets 3 genuinely useful things sorted. First, her investment mix gets reviewed properly. She's still 10 years from fully retiring, so rather than sitting in an overly cautious option by default, her balance stays appropriately growth-focused for now, with a plan to gradually shift toward a more conservative mix as she actually gets closer to drawing on it. Second, she gets a realistic drawdown plan. Based on her own life expectancy, the strategy is built around a retirement that could genuinely last 30 years, not the 15 most people picture without really thinking about it. That means starting with a more modest, sustainable withdrawal rate, rather than spending aggressively in the early years and hoping for the best later on. Third, and this part surprises her, the session flags that her beneficiary nomination lapsed years ago without her noticing. Fixed on the spot in under 5 minutes. None of this cost her anything extra. It was already sitting there waiting for her to pick up the phone. Robert genuinely means to get around to it. He tells himself he'll book the session next week, then next month. The letter ends up under a stack of other mail, and eventually it's simply forgotten. His super stays exactly where it's always been, sitting in whatever default settings were chosen for him years ago.
When he does eventually retire, at 65, he makes his own back-of-envelope plan, the way plenty of people do. He figures he'll draw down a comfortable income for around 15 years, enough to get him to about 80, and not think too much further ahead than that. It feels sensible in the moment. It's exactly the kind of quiet, reasonable-sounding decision that, as we've covered before, tends to cause the most damage precisely because it never feels like a mistake at the time. Both Robert and Denise retire at 65 with fairly similar super balances, somewhere around $600,000 each after another decade of contributions and growth.
Denise, following her tailored strategy, starts drawing an initial income of around $30,000 a year, adjusted upward with inflation over time, while keeping a meaningful portion of her balance invested for growth. It's not a flashy first few years, but it's genuinely built to last. Robert draws considerably harder, around $45,000 a year, funding a genuinely enjoyable early retirement, a couple of decent overseas trips, a caravan, the lifestyle he always pictured. He's not being reckless exactly, he's just spending like a man who's planned for 15 years, because that's the number he settled on without ever actually checking it against real-life expectancy figures. Let's jump to age 80. This is roughly where Robert's original 15-year mental plan runs out. Denise's balance, drawn down carefully and kept appropriately invested the whole way through, is still sitting at a genuinely healthy level, comfortably able to keep funding her lifestyle for years yet. Her strategy gets reviewed again around this point and adjusted slightly for where she's actually at. Robert's account, drawn down harder from the start and never properly reviewed, is close to empty. Not because he did anything wildly irresponsible, just because 15 years of spending $45,000 a year without a plan built around genuine longevity simply outran what the balance could sustainably support. And here's the part that stings. According to the Bureau of Statistics figures we've talked about before, a man reaching 65 today can expect on average another 20 years. That takes him comfortably into his mid-80s. Robert is 80, his super's essentially gone, and there's a very real chance he's still got years ahead of him, now relying almost entirely on the age pension, currently worth around $31,000 a year for a single person, a steep drop from the $45,000 lifestyle he'd built his identity around. Before this turns into just open the letter and you're set for life, a few honest caveats worth flagging. This new mandatory strategy is genuinely useful, but it's still general in nature. It's built from your fund's data about people broadly like you, not a full personalised financial plan. For more complex situations, a genuine mix of super, other investments, an inheritance, a business, it's still worth speaking to a licensed financial advisor who can look at your complete picture. It also doesn't automatically fix anything on its own. Denise still had to actually book the session, actually listen, and actually follow the plan afterward. The letter alone changes nothing. It's the 20 minutes of attention on top of it that does the work. And it's worth saying plainly, there's no guarantee Denise's plan plays out exactly as modelled either. Markets move, health changes, circumstances shift. A good strategy dramatically improves the odds. It doesn't remove uncertainty altogether. So here's the real takeaway.
For the first time, super funds are required to hand people over 50 something genuinely useful and tailored, unprompted, without them having to go looking for it. That's a real, meaningful shift in a system that historically left people to figure this out largely on their own. But the reform only works for the people who actually engage with it. Robert had access to the exact same tool Denise did. The only difference between them was whether the envelope got opened. Denise didn't do anything complicated. She didn't need to be a finance expert or spend hours studying superannuation rules. She just answered the phone when her fund reached out and let a genuinely tailored plan replace a guess. Robert's guess wasn't stupid. It was just a guess, made once, in a single afternoon, and never revisited. And that's really the whole story behind this reform. It exists precisely because most retirement mistakes aren't dramatic decisions. They're quiet ones, made once and left unchecked for decades. If you're anywhere near 50 and a letter like this has landed in your mailbox or your inbox recently, here's the honest advice. Open it. Book the session. It costs you less than an hour and it might be the single most valuable hour your super fund ever offers you. If this helped you understand what's actually changed, hit subscribe for more videos unpacking the everyday money decisions Australians over 50 are actually making right now. And let me know in the comments, have you received this letter yet, and did you open it? See you in the next one.